What's good? It's your boy Fanon. Gonna talk about a fight coming up this weekend, but the aftermath of a fight, according to the trainer of Gervonta Davis. Kevin Cunningham, as many people know, has now taken over the role as head trainer for Gervonta Tank Davis in the lead up to his fight with Jesus Cuellar this weekend. And he says that after this fight, Lomachenko will know who the boss is. I like that, man, because it seems like the whole team, Floyd Mayweather, Kevin Cunningham, the trainer, the promoter, are trying to make this fight happen with Gervonta Davis and Lomachenko when they were getting a lot of slack about ducking. So it doesn't look like the duck is happening anymore. It looks like they're actively trying to go after him, man. I gotta commend them. So I'm going to talk about that and also talk about this fight coming up for Cuellar in this card this weekend with Adrian Bronner and Jermall Charlo fighting Centino. Adrian Bronner, Jesse Vargas, and Centino versus Jermall Charlo. I think this is going to be one of the best fights. I mean, this is going to be a tremendous weekend of fights, and I'm looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to seeing how Tank Davis is looking. But as far as it goes with, what was happening, what has happened with Lomachenko, what I think will happen with Lomachenko, that's going to be the majority of the subject of this video. Now, before I do that, I definitely going to have a live stream later today, and so the best way to be able to participate in the live stream and talk about this and the other videos we did today and yesterday is to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of when the live streams occur, so that you can participate in them. Usually have very, very good, very mature boxing fans. We have trainers, fathers of professional boxers. Shout out to my man. And very boxing historic guys that are very, very well schooled in boxing history. So it's just an all around a great environment to have conversations with boxing fans. So I hope that you will agree to accept my invitation, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Now, before I go further, let me go into the article that had come out today. Is by Ryan Burton, and the trainer. It's entitled "Trainer." After Saturday, Lomachenko will know Davis is the boss. Former IBF super featherweight champion Gervonta Tank Davis, 19-0, returns to the ring Saturday night against former featherweight champion Jesus Cuellar, 28-2. The vacant WBA regular super featherweight title will be at stake in the Showtime televised bout. The 23-year-old Davis lost his title on the scale in his last fight, which was an 8-round knockout victory over Francisco Fonseca on the Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor pay-per-view undercard. The fight against Cuellar will take place at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, and will be Davis' first fight under the guidance of world-class trainer Kevin Cunningham, who is based in West Palm Beach, Florida. Cunningham has also been training Adrian Bronner, who faces Jesse Vargas in the main event of the fight card. Davis's promoter, Floyd Mayweather, raised eyebrows on April 7th during an interview on Showtime that aired on the Islandi Lara Jarrett Hurd broadcast when he said that he spoke to top-ranked President Todd DeBuff about making a fight for Davis against top 3 pound-for-pound fighter Vasyl Lomachenko should both fighters win their next bouts. Cunningham is not only confident that his fighter will pick up another title on April 21st, but do it in dominant fashion. Tank's on weight and ready to go. After Saturday night, everyone in the division, including Lomachenko, will know Gervonta Davis is the boss, Cunningham told BoxingScene.com. Lomachenko, who captured world titles in 3 weight divisions. That's not true. I think he's only in 2, 126 and 130. Will attempt to capture his 3rd next month. There you go. In 2 weight divisions, will attempt to capture his 3rd next month. On May 12th at Madison Square Garden in New York, Lomachenko will move up to 135 pounds to challenge WBA lightweight champion Jorge Linares in an ESPN televised main event. Lomachenko is still the current holder of the WBO title at 130 pounds. Yeah, so just to correct this article, it said Lomachenko, who captured world titles in 3 weight divisions. No, he's in his 2nd weight division right now. He's won titles at 126, and he won the WBO at 126, and he won the WBO at 130. Lightweight would be the 3rd against Jorge Linares. So that's just by way of correcting this article. And sometimes people wonder, like when I get stuttered, like I stutter reading, a lot of times in these particular websites, I won't name this website, but a lot of times they don't edit very thoroughly. I think they just kind of slap it up there, and sometimes there'll be words that don't make sense, where they clearly like skip a word or they get a fact that's off. But the gist of the article is very good. The quotes are on point, but sometimes I'll just try to correct mid-sentence, and that's not always the easiest thing to do. Anyway, that said, so there you have it from my man Kevin Cunningham. Like I said, Kevin Cunningham, I think a lot of as a trainer. I've always enjoyed watching him in the corner. Of course, my favorite fights to watch that Kevin Cunningham was involved with were the great fights that took place between Corey Spinks and Zab Judah. He also, as the article said, has been in the corner for Devin Alexander. I know he's been in the corner as an assistant trainer for Adrian Bronner, but now has moved up into the head training role. So I'm excited about that. And it's good to know that Gervonta Davis is on weight. Now, the only thing that I'll say out of this about this, well, first of all, it's exciting to hear that he's willing and actively looking at and talking about Vasyl Lomachenko. Now, last year when there were conversations after the Guillermo Rigondeaux fight with Lomachenko, if people recall, did call out Gervonta Davis and was saying things to Floyd Mayweather Jr. like, don't protect your fighter. He wants to get it. It seemed like Vasyl Lomachenko had called out Floyd Mayweather Jr. himself, but then he came back and corrected it and said, he had meant to. Obviously, he wasn't calling out Floyd Mayweather Jr., who was a retired fighter, but he was calling out Gervonta Davis and saying, don't hide Gervonta Davis from him. Gervonta Davis at the time, had just lost his IBF 130-pound title on the scale before the fight with Francisco Fonseca. And so at the time, he was not a IBF 130-pound champion. And my take on it was, look, he doesn't have a belt at 130 pounds. And if Floyd wants to, wait for Gervonta Davis to mature more before he fights with Lomachenko, I can understand that. And I did not think that Gervonta Davis was mature enough at that time, and that wasn't very long ago, right? It's just a few months ago to beat Vasyl Lomachenko. And it's not that I don't think that Gervonta Davis has the ability to, because I do. I think Gervonta Davis, as far as what he brings to the ring, if he has his mental game right, 2 things would need to happen for me to feel comfortable about it. 1, they need testing. They need in competition, out of competition testing. Number 1. And number 2, Gervonta Davis has to grow up. And he has to make his life boxing. Not boxing part of his life. He needs to buckle down, stay focused, stay out of a bunch of petty stuff. Because when you see people having petty stuff going on Instagram or Twitter or what have you, whatever the social media, Snapchat, whatever the social media platform is that this stuff is going on, it makes you wonder where his focus is. Because he's dedicating a significant amount of time, and as far as leading the conversation, about what he wants to do, he's using a lot of his communication mechanisms to talk about things that have nothing to do with the guy that he's actually fighting, right? So that just made me think that he's easily distracted, or he's easily distracted, and that he's not focused on what he needs to do. And I don't think that he can get into the ring with Vasyl Lomachenko not being focused, not being, really, really, what do you call it? having laser beam focus on what he's trying to accomplish. Because, as much as I would get on, and there's a lot of videos where I get on people who would say things about Vasyl Lomachenko being the best fighter since Ali, this unique fighter that we've never seen anything, we've never seen anything like him before, all of those type of things, right? I never did like those. I don't like that type of hype. I think it's disrespectful to the fighters the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fighters that have been around, right? But as far as Vasyl Lomachenko himself, the fighter himself, he's clearly very focused. He's clearly very mature. He's obviously about business, and he comes prepared. And he's a mature. He came into professional boxing a grown man. Vasyl Lomachenko is 2 years older than Gervonta Davis is right now when he turned professional. And now he's 30 years. Now he's 30 years old. 30 years old, that means you're not just still within your physical prime. You're also, as far as your maturity level goes, and now with him having 11 title fights, he is as prime and ready to go as he will ever be. And that might not be the case for Gervonta Davis. But with Gervonta Davis making a change to Kevin Cunningham, and a guy in Kevin Cunningham who has, in my opinion, trained guys that have overperformed. When I look at Corey Spinks as a fighter, I think Corey Spinks is somebody that achieved more with his talent, with his level of talent, than I would have thought that he had been able to do. I think that Corey Spinks is an overachiever. I think the same thing goes with Devin Alexander. I think Devin Alexander, because neither Devin Alexander nor Corey Spinks were blessed with tremendous punching power. In fact, I would go so far as to say that neither one of them are very good punchers. They are just very good boxers. They're very intelligent. They let their hands go. Corey Spinks was more of a slick fighter. He was kind of a tall 140 pounder, 147 pounder. I think for the most part he fought at 140 pounds though. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that I view Corey Spinks and the fighters that Kevin Cunningham is best known for training, those guys are overachievers. Now he's got a group of two guys in Adrian Bronner and Gervonta Davis who are exceptional talents. Even despite everything that's going on with Adrian Bronner, as far as him having lost. I mean, would he lose to Sean Porter? He lost to Mikey Garcia. He lost to Lucas Matisse. And yeah, Lucas Matisse. I always mix up not Lucas Matisse. I did it again. Marcos Maidana. He did not fight Lucas Matisse. I always mix those Argentine those guys up. The Maidana and the Matisse. Having lost to Marcos Maidana, having lost to Mikey Garcia, and having lost to Sean Porter. Regardless of those losses, he still is, I think that it is universally agreed, a very talented fighter who does have the build, who does have pop, who does have speed. Gervonta Davis, even in my opinion, even more so. Gervonta Davis, from what I can see, is a guy that really could be the best 130 pounder and the best 135 pounder because of his hand speed, because of his willingness to let his hands go. He doesn't have that problem that Adrian Bronner has. He's not going to have stagnation. What do you call it? Stagnation. Stagnation as resulting from basically overthinking it. He's not gonna stagnate and hold his hands because he's overthinking what's going on. He's gonna see an opening and he's gonna take it. And I love how he gets in and out under punches. So for me and Vasyl, when I look at the potential of a Gervonta Davis versus Vasyl Lomachenko fight, to me, Gervonta Davis is the type of guy that can beat Vasyl Lomachenko. His style-wise, he's a guy that will cause, if he's on his game, and if every, I cannot emphasize this enough. When Guillermo Rigondeaux came into that fight with Vasyl Lomachenko, and he said, "Look, here's my VADA testing. Please have Vasyl Lomachenko show where is he going to show his tests results from VADA or whoever was testing, because it's the WBO. So we don't know. And one of the things about Vasyl Lomachenko, now, if it's not the case, it's not the case. You know, and it winds up that he's just a guy that can just continually let his hands go, let his hands go, let his hands go, who really doesn't need any type of rest, who doesn't need to take a break. And every time you take a break, he's throwing more and more punches. If he just happens to be super, super fit like that, then so be it. But with all the scandals, with all the people that have been caught on this, and this is not an indictment of, Vasyl Lomachenko, it's an indictment of the system. The way that testing is done in boxing right now. You have Alexander Povetkin caught. You got Luis Ortiz caught. You had Canelo Alvarez, where everybody says now, after the fact, oh yeah, it's obvious. Everybody should have known that Canelo Alvarez was on something. Just look at him, right? Just look at his build, right? Well, everybody knew about it, and I think Ronnie Shields is the guy that is the coach that said it. He's like, it's obvious. Well, since we're going on now, what's obvious and what we see in people, then, hey man, nobody is above. Nobody that doesn't get tired. Nobody that gets more heavily muscled as they move up. Because I do tell you, if you look at a picture of Vasyl Lomachenko at 130 pounds and Vasyl Lomachenko when he was fighting Orlando Salido, Vasyl Lomachenko is significantly bigger now than he was when he was 26 years old. If you look at those side-by-side pictures, he's a lot bigger, and his endurance and fitness has gotten a lot better. And I think his endurance and his fitness is probably one of the reasons why he's so dangerous. So I think that as long as that is in place, and if it winds up that that's how he is, and that's just a natural occurrence, and he can pass VADA in competition, out of competition testing, and Gervonta Davis can do the same, where he can pass those, and then he gets in the ring. Gervonta Davis gets in the ring, and he fights a fight where he's just aggressively going to the body, where Vasyl Lomachenko, he punches in between Lomachenko's punches, and he makes Lomachenko really respect his power. The power of and the size of Gervonta Davis could wind up being a very, very big advantage for him. The only issue that I can see in that fight is the maturity level. And I do believe, and I've done a lot of videos on Gervonta Davis criticizing his maturity, never criticizing his ability in the ring. It's all, for me, always hinged on, and will always continue, unless I see him move up to 140 pounds or 100. It is his discipline. It's his maturity. His maturity reflects in discipline. The discipline shows itself in making weight. And it reflects itself in keeping yourself out of these little petty beefs, and even the little things that go on with Deontay Wilder and that texting. Even that tells me, man, this guy still has some maturing to do. But the good thing about Gervonta Davis is he's only 23 years old. And at 23 years old, and I said this in other videos, you're going to be immature at 23 years old. You really just stopped growing. And I'm talking about not height. When you're in your height, you stop growing in your height around, I guess, 17 years old. Some people a little earlier, some people a little later. As far as your body size, your body mass, you stop growing, somewhere around 22, 23 is when when your bone structure is pretty set, somewhere around there. Maybe a little earlier for some people. But as far as your maturity, that takes a lot longer. Some people, it comes earlier, like Andre Ward. With Andre Ward, it seems like he matured much, much earlier than a lot of other people did. Maybe it was, I don't know what it was about him. Maybe it was his belief in his religion, his ability, to commit himself to that cause, and and the very good relationship he has with Virgil Hunter, who also seems to be a very mature, like just in his personality, is a very calm and collected guy. And shout out, prayers go out to Virgil Hunter, man. I know that he had an illness that prevented him from coaching this Amir Khan fight, so I wanted to say that towards the end of this video. But, you know, if that winds up being the case, and Kevin Cunningham can be that guy, to the Virgil Hunter to Andre Ward, you know, the Virgil Hunter type of character or influence to Gervonta Davis, you know, man, I think that he has a very good chance to do it. And I look forward to it happening. With that, I'm out. Peace.